welcome back to Procurement and Supply Chain Live Singapore. Thank you so much for joining us today. Time for our next keynote, and that's Digital Transformation in Supply Chain with Veena Theagarajan, Digital Transformation VP at Hewlett-Packard Enterprises, HPE. Veena, hi, how are you?
Doing good. How are you?
Very, very well, thank you. It's been a very successful day so far. Lots of nice feedback coming in from people. But the virtual floor is yours, and I'll come back with some questions at the end.
Thank you. Okay. Hello, everyone. Thanks for being here. In this session, we will talk about our journey in the supply chain. Okay, let me get into it. I think any of these challenges is not new to any of you guys. I think this has started like right before COVID, where we started with some supply chain disruption. We have some geopolitical tension and also some of the natural issues. And we are in a high-tech industry where we are providing some cloud solution, edge-to-cloud solution to our customers. So the security and traceability is also one of our key challenge, followed by sustainability, right? Almost every one of us are accelerating in terms of our net zero goal. So in HPE, it's also the same, right? So with this backdrop, we started thinking about, how do we approach our transformation? Actually, HPE, before all of this started, that is back in 2020, most of our supply chain is outsourced, particularly for manufacturing side. So we were more on the light touch model, where our partners are managing our supply chain, and pretty much, they are managing our order books, and we are kind of translating or transferring whatever the information that they are providing. With all the challenges that we had in 2021 onwards, that is really becoming a challenge because we were not able to fulfill the orders of our customer on time, and we are not able to provide the right information or reasons on why there are delays, etc. Right? So really, to have the full end-to-end visibility, it's not really a control tower, but really the visibility to make the real-time decisions, so that we can manage the supply chain much more efficiently, right? So the first bucket or the first strategy is to really get the visibility of our supply chain end to end, both upstream and downstream. And also, we want this to be more nimble in terms of real-time visibility, and also that will enable us to manage the exceptions much more quicker, right? And also, with that data, whether we can start looking at some of the predictive insights and also do some optimized decision, which probably we will see it in the next few slides, and also how we manage our secure supply chain, right? Trusted supply chain. And at the end of it, of course, how do we streamline our processes, more manage it on all the touchless processes, right? Whether it is order management, whether it's a procurement, even though we are pretty outsourced, a lot of our high value commodities are still managed by us in terms of the procurement. So how do we really manage a lot of these touchless processes? So these are the key points, our key strategy or the driving factor to decide our digital transformation journey. And of course, the benefits are pretty visible. It's actually help us to reduce the time to the market and the efficiency gain, and reduce the overall supply chain cost, not just from the perspective of the material cost or anything like that, but it's overall total cost of ownership for doing end-to-end supply chain, right? And improve customer satisfaction, and also improve our competitiveness in the market. So having said that, the journey started in 2022, and we are still in the process. We are still in the process of the whole transformation. Happy to say that it's progressing pretty well, in line with the plan. we started back in 2022 to really look at how we streamline our ERP systems and create the single data lake that inclusive of both internal and the external data when it comes to the end-to-end supply chain. And also we wanted to strengthen the business application footprint, things like planning, because like I said, we had a lot of outsourcing done in the past. So when you really think about planning, it was left with our partners. But again, if we really want to make a right decision in a much faster way to guide our partners to, for an example, if you want to prioritize certain orders over the others, we really need the simulation and the planning capability as well. That's one example when we talk about the strengthen the business application footprint, right? So we started back in 2022. And most of these foundation layers were well in place in 2023 towards almost mid of 2023. And we started looking at how do we start connecting the different data points, really have that end-to-end view. So it's not that you're making one decision at one point, which is going to impact the other downstream or upstream processes, right? And once you have the right data and much more cleaned up data, then we can start talking about the AI and ML in use cases. Because before this 2023, it was very difficult for us to do any of the AI initiatives or any of the use those advanced technologies to drive our business process. Now, with the availability of all the data and in a single data lake and everything else, we are well positioned to kind of take the advantage of that, right? So as a basic, we are also trying to put in place the full AI and advanced analytics platform, which will enable us or which will help us to scale the implementation much faster. Now, when I talk about AI here, it's not just the Gen AI, because I know most of the people, when you talk about the AI, they were like thinking about primarily Gen AI, but this one will be more holistic, right? What we have approached is holistic view on the AI, which inclusive of the traditional AI ML models when it comes to like predictive or optimization, predictive prescriptive elements as well, right? And then, of course, using these foundations, then how do we start driving more, how do we really put in more advanced technologies to streamline the whole process and do the full simulation and optimization of the supply chain, and also extend our automation from, not just from individual process perspective, but then also end to end, right? So that's still, I would say, majority of these work will be carried out later part of this year and 2025, right? Now, okay, so these are the major buckets of the supply chain. If you really think about like HPE level, right? As you can see that it actually starts from our engineering. We are primarily on the CTO business server, right? And our servers varies from, mostly on a B2B space. So from our engineering perspective, it's all the NPI and also the quality related. And then when it's come to the sourcing, even though our partners are managing almost like 40% of the supply, most of the parts are still qualified and source determined by HPE, particularly all the high value one. So it is really critical for us to have a right tools and the process in place there. And that sourcing includes the forecasting and long-term planning, because if you really want to manage the procurement, we really need to have a good forecasting. Even though the MRPs are done by our partners, it is still with our planning tools that's in place. It allows us to consolidate our partners' MRP results at the same time, kind of provide a governance from our side and do any simulation that is needed, and then collaborate with our end suppliers, right? And majority of our business are quote to cash. So our configure and code process is also one of the key processes which tools, and that we are still like in the process of fine tuning it. And then the whole order management, which is with an implementation of HANA S4, this is more or less a done deal, and we have done quite a bit of automation in the space, right? Which will cut our lead time in terms of PO to order placement or order creation and transmission to our partners, and also managing our commitment to our customers. There are quite a bit of work done in terms of using some of the predictive models to project the order shipment dates, etc. Right, and also some optimization to manage the inventory allocations and things like that. And when it comes to the fulfillment, then we are talking about fulfillment side. It's primarily tactical. As you can see, the strategic sourcing is the one who is managing the long term, as well as the sourcing or qualifying or awarding the suppliers. But then when it comes to the fulfillment, they manage the immediate PO release and procure it. And in the event, if there is immediate shortages for different unforeseen events or whatever, then they can actually manage the inventory transfer between the facilities and things like that, right? And of course, we have factories here. The RSPs are our partners, EMS partners. So they are also falling under the fulfillment and manufacturing umbrella. And then we have global logistics, which is again inbound, outbound, all covered, and it's also covering our services supply chain, which is all the spare parts planning and the whole supply chain there, right? Okay, so with all of this, right, when we talk about the secure supply chain or trusted supply chain, it's really critical for us to understand what goes into our product from the time it gets shipped from the suppliers all the way into the field, as well as from the field into the return or renew process, right? So really this chain of custody or traceability is one of our key initiatives, which is in progress at the moment, and it will be available for us by end of this year. So this will allow us to manage some of our critical parts to make sure that what goes into the server is fully qualified. There is no tampering, or there is no malpractices in between the entire supply chain, right? So now, no strategy is complete without having a good, without an AI strategy. Actually, like I said previously, the AI strategy that what we are looking at it is really not just from a Gen AI perspective, but it is also from all other traditional AI algorithms as well, right? So there are some internal use cases and then external use cases which we are focusing. Some of them are already in production, and actually you can see some of the benefits all of these are generating in the next few slides. So from a prediction and optimization, obviously, demand forecasting and ETA prediction, and both from outbound perspective on the sales order, when the customers are placing an order, when they will receive the orders, at the same time, the inbound PO visibility as well. PO commit as well. Of course, like any other supply chain companies, we do have our challenges in terms of getting our suppliers commit to the accurate ETAs. But then using AI and ML, we are kind of managing that inaccuracy which comes with the commits that we are seeing it from the suppliers. Right. And inventory optimization, of course, this one is like whether it is a short, which order gets it, but at the same time, there might be some, because it's a CTO business. So we do have short as well as the excess. So it will also allow us to do a full ATP to figure it out how you will deplete the excess inventory. right? And the production optimization, and one of the other ones that we are very actively working on, and there are many use cases which is supported, is the vision analytics. So when it comes to the inspection AI, particularly in the trusted supply chain, we wanted to make sure that the parts which is going in, because there are some specific requirements which coming from our customers in terms of which part goes into our servers, and which supplier, which country of origin, etc. So with that being said, we have this vision algorithms, which is helping us to make sure that whatever that we build and final quality inspection on the servers are capturing if there is any misses or any tampering, which is done between different facilities, right? Because we do have integrated facilities, but we also have PCB facilities and the backend facilities, which are, in a different countries. So wanted to make sure that during the transition, or if we are taking the servers from our data centers from our customers, we also wanted to make sure that the servers the servers which are coming back is also still with our original components and etc. So that is also handled through this vision analytics, right? And of course, in terms of the automation, we have order management, the whole NPI launch, and also the around customer support. When I talk about the customer support, it's all around the chatbots, and within the chatbot, obviously, that's where we have some very good use cases where the Gen AI plus the automations are getting combined. So that's a good example of how do we use Gen AI on top of the traditional automation or NLUs, or even some of the predictive ones. Right. And of course, the data summarization and insight is more on the Gen AI. I would say that this space is something that we are continuing to work on. We are very specific about whatever model that gets released, particularly in the Gen AI, is make sure that it is AI. It's responsible AI, meaning there's no bias. With all the historical data that is available, in some cases, we do definitely have some bias, particularly if it is human related data which goes in there, right? So at this point, we are in the process of developing and testing. And we do have a lot of NLPs and NLU text search based algorithms that's available. It's already in production, but when it comes to the LLM, this is something that we will start to put in production starting like a couple of weeks from now. Right. And then from an external use cases, it's primarily looking at customer experience side, where we are talking about all the chatbot and all the customer experience side. One is obviously the support and services from end to end, from the code, when they place a code and they have questions on configurations or any other queries. Also, when the order is in the fulfillment stage, and also after the servers are already installed, right? So the whole end-to-end experience, there are pockets of LLMs, which is being tested. But then at the same time, currently we already have a chatbot which is available using NLPs and NLUs. Okay. Okay. So this I think is my last slide. So this is benefits that we are tracking across all of the digital effort that we are doing. So as you can see that there are some big numbers that what you're seeing here. It's all because, it's clearly the adoption or digitalization, I would say. Digital roadmap, just putting some tools without fully getting adopted is not going to add any value to the operation, but we make sure that we are actually it is getting adopted. It is plugged into the in day-to-day processes. Transactional systems, when you put it in, it is pretty easy. But then when it comes to any of the advanced analytics or AI side, we are clearly making sure that it is embedded within the current tools and the processes that team is using. For an example, if you are coming up with anything on the demand forecasting, it does get injected into the planning systems, and it also recommends the forecasting on top of whatever that they are getting it from the sales or deals or whatever, right? So from a planner perspective, they will have the visibility to make those decisions. So with that being said, like this shortage optimized shift at this 1.4, it's actually coming from the inventory optimization side. And obviously the FTE that what you're seeing here is coming from the automation plus also some of the visualization visualization side, right? And then we also have visibility platform, which actually standardize all the one source of truth for all the KPIs, and all the reviews from the operations are done through that, right? So that is where you see the visits and the number of users who's onboarded, right? And and we are also this code to prioritize and proactively steered will help us. Let's say if you have enough inventory or better lead time parts, alternate parts, and how you want to steer your demand to that, because our business is primarily around configure and code, right? So yeah, that's the quick snapshot of the benefits that we have gained so far. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much what I had it to cover. I'm open for any questions.
Thank you so much. Really enjoyed your insight on that. Incredibly thorough. Couple of questions, if I may. First of all, we've had a question in from the virtual audience. Thank you very much. And that is, are companies such as yours considering quantum computing for optimization tasks? Do you see quantum computing having a big future in this field?
Yes, we are also looking at the use cases for it. There are some of the use cases where it's a data hungry, right? And it will help us to speed up the whole thing, but not necessarily it will be used in every single use cases, right? But at the moment, I would say we are in the POC stage and not really zoom down into any of the use cases yet.
Yeah, we'll continue watching that space. And my final question is, obviously you guys are far more mature in your digital transformation. There's been a great deal of success already. What would your advice be for other organisations who are maybe much earlier on in their digital transformation? What lessons have you learned to try and give you the very best chance of meeting your objectives?
Okay, that's a very good question, right? Because whenever you try to put in any strategy around digitization or digitalization, actually I like the word of digitalization better than digitization, right? Because digitalization means that it's not just putting tools in place, but it is also how do we embed this within the process and the process being transformed, and you start to see the benefit from it as well. So I would say there are a couple of learnings. One is obviously whenever you come up with any tools or any strategy, make sure that this is aligned with your end business goals. That is really critical to get the buy-ins from your stakeholders, right? And also involve your key partners early in the game to really shape the strategy together with you. And when you define the future process, make sure that it is also, whatever the solution that we are rolling it out is embedded within, right? And the second piece is AI part. I know like today with the buzz over AI, everybody wants to do something, right? But make sure that you have a right data in place. At the same time, you're able to, of course, I think the technology is much advanced right now, even though if your data is not that clean, but, there are technologies and algorithms which are available for you to manage your data quality far better than what it used to be. But it's critical for you to identify the data as well as understand in terms of the where it is in terms of the quality and how you're going to mitigate it, because garbage in, garbage out, right? And the second piece is make sure that all these models outputs are embedded within your processes, right? It's not a standalone. And also remember, none of these AI model will perform forever. So you need to have a good monitoring and retraining identification, or, when the models start to deviate or not performing, how will you manage it, right? You should definitely have the strategy on it. So that'll be like a couple of things there. Yeah.
Veena, that's fantastic advice. Thank you very much indeed. Really enjoyed your insight today. Thank you so much for joining us at Procurement and Supply Chain Live Singapore.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on this. Thank you.
Very welcome. Thank you, Veena. Okay, time for a networking break, and then we'll be right back with a highlight of today's agenda. That is the Procurement Strategy Forum. That's back at just before the top of the hour.